In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I am Vicky Fraser, and this month there is no Joe because I have a very special guest from Florida. It's Mark Kaye. Mark is very, very cool. Hi, Mark.
Hi. Oh, thanks. You're cool too.
He's the lead at 1000shows.com, and he got my attention with something really funny that we'll come on to in a moment. But first of all, Mark, thanks so much for being on the show. I'm really excited you're here.
Vicky, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for sending me this. Am I supposed to drink this now? Is that how this works? Because you sent me this. They make this like in your hometown, right? This is from where you live?
Just up the road from where I live, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous that you have a gin distillery in your neighborhood. All right, I'm gonna try it. Right, I've never tried this before, but it smells phenomenal. Oh my gosh, this is so British. I love it.
Very British. Cheers.
Oh, this is dangerous. This is going to be a horrible show. I can already tell. Oh my God, that's so good. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Cool. Okay, I'm Gin Queen. So who are you? Can you tell my listeners who you are and what you do, please?
Yeah, I do a lot of things, but basically I'm a radio host. And, a few years ago, I started dabbling in social media and I became very popular on Snapchat as well. I started the first talk show on Snapchat. And then after that, I started getting flown all over the world and all over the country and speaking to people about Snapchat and social media and, building a following. And then a couple of years ago, I jumped into podcasting and Facebook. And recently what I realized was there's a lot of people who just want to know how to do this kind of stuff, but to do it really well. And the one thing that I've always found success with was not just looking at Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and YouTube as Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and YouTube, but is looking at it as places where you can create and design and broadcast a show. Something that really wows the audience and something that really, defines who you are, connects with people emotionally. And so I started 1000 Shows, which is a program to help 1000 people, 1000 business owners, 1000 entrepreneurs and experts, just like you, just like me, to create a show on whatever platform they want. And in the last 3 or 4 months since I started, it's been like gangbusters. And as you know, Vicky, we have a phenomenal community of people all over the world who are helping to build shows. And it's awesome.
It is awesome. And the people in the group are really interesting from so many different walks of life.
Oh, yeah.
Really are. So everyone learns something from it. But what's the big deal about shows? Why a show? What's the big deal with shows?
Well, shows are what people want. People don't just, when they go out, they want to be entertained. Sure, they want information, but they want entertaining information. I mean, you go to the movie, you pay money, you expect to be dazzled with great sound effects or great visual effects or maybe a wonderful love story. You want entertainment takes many forms. A lot of people mistakenly think entertainment is just ha-ha funny. That's not true. Entertainment can be horror and suspense and you're adrenaline rushing or something dramatic that really tugs at your heartstrings and makes you feel something deeply. And we all have the power. I mean, we're doing this across the ocean right now, but we all have the power right here in our phones to communicate with millions of people and create a show that will link with them emotionally. And that's the difference between just doing a podcast, just doing a YouTube channel, and creating a show. Shows affect people in an emotional way and link you permanently. And if you're a business owner, or if you're an entrepreneur and you really can't help people, that's all you want.
Okay, so what would you say to somebody who was thinking, okay, well that all sounds great, a show
right.
sounds great. How do I get started? What would you tell them to start?
Well, the first thing I always tell people to start with, you have to figure out why you want a show. And a lot of people, now there's really bad advice out there. And one of the worst pieces of advice I always get is don't do something just for the money. Well, if it weren't for money, none of us would really do anything. I know that I wouldn't get up and get for work every day at 4:30. I love my job. I love talking on the radio. but the money is important. So you need to, number one, want to build a business around your show, because you have these desires, you have these dreams, you want to create something, and the more money you make, the more you can create. So if you're looking at it as a business, then that's kind of where I come in. I'm looking for business people who want to make shows, and most business people do, and most showmen or show people are people that want to make shows and get some kind of income from it. So I always say, start with your product in mind. And the product could be something for sale, or it could be something for free, but you've got to create something that you can give to people or offer people. And again, most people will start a show thinking, oh, I'll build up a big audience and then I'll create something for them. I do it the other way around. Figure out what people want, create that product, and then build the show around it. It's much easier to target your audience, figure out where to put your show, figure out what kind of content to come up with for your show. And then once you know what you're selling, you get into your audience and we know where you want it to live and your skill set and that kind of thing. But desire, the ability or the wherewithal to know you've got to create some income from it, a product to sell and an audience. That's where you have to start with your show before you ever turn on the camera or turn on the microphone and utter a word.
That's a really good piece of advice. I always like the idea of kind of selling it before you make it almost. Yeah, sort of finding out what people want and doing it that way. So I can almost hear the questions that are going to be in some of my listeners' heads. Like, okay, well, so what kind of a thing could I possibly make? So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite show? What's your favorite thing that you've seen being sold? And I ask you that because the thing that got my attention was that you were selling nothing.
Oh yeah, that's I was. That was one of my, before I even came up with 1,000 shows, I had a great product. It was nothing. And I created a video, and this is another thing that people, if they're, if you're familiar with the concept of a sales funnel or a sales website, the sales process, basically, people say, I know that I need to get traffic to my website. I know that I need people on my landing page. And so they think that the funnel system or the sales experience begins with the first page of their website. And that's false. The funnel experience begins with your ad. Whether it's a Facebook ad or a YouTube video or a podcast or, something you stick up in the grocery store, whatever your advertising is, that's the beginning of your funnel. And so I created the idea for this ad, but long before I even had a product or a sales page. I was kind of not sick and tired, but I was amazed with how many of the same marketing tactics I was seeing from entrepreneurs. Things like, having a price that ends in a 7, 97, 67, 47. For some reason, that's a huge thing. Another one was, with all the get rich quick things that you hear about, bonuses. People sell the bonuses more than they sell the actual product. There were all these stereotypes that we had webinars that were really long and this and that and the other. And so what I did was I created a kind of a parody ad selling a product. And then in the end, as I started making the ad, I realized the product was nothing. So to go along with it, to really kind of finish it off, I created a website. On the website, I offered nothing for sale. It was for $20 because I didn't want to end in a 7. I had a bonus, and the bonus was my favorite because my upsale or my bump sale product was a PDF called How to Stop Buying So Many PDFs. And I sold those. It was incredible. So the ad pushed people to the website, and if just out of curiosity, they plunked down $20. They bought nothing from me. Some of them upsold to buy the PDF that teaches them how to stop buying PDFs. And the rest is, it. Then I realized you really can sell anything on the internet, even if what you sell is nothing.
I know that was hilarious because I never saw that ad at all because somebody in a Facebook group that I was in said, "Go have a look at this landing page because it's nothing." And so that's where I found you, and I was like, "That's hilarious!" And it totally reminded me of Cards Against Humanity when they were selling bullshit on Black Friday.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's a great game. I mean, everybody loves that game. So people love that. I call it tickling the broker, or that part of your mind that just makes you go, "What?" And that's where you can really tap into some exciting stuff.
Yeah, which brings me neatly back around to, okay, so what have you seen, maybe from your group, maybe from one of your clients, that has tickled your broker most?
Well, I've been fascinated my whole life with infomercials. I don't know if you have them over there, but we have them here where it's a 30-minute show and it's basically just selling a product. And we had a guy who passed away a few years ago. His name was Billy Mays. And he had a big beard and a blue shirt. And he sold I mean, everything. He sold OxyClean, which is a super duper cleanser that uses oxygen. And then he sold Mighty Putty, which if you had a hole in the side of your boat, you could put the Mighty Putty on and it was amazing. And this guy would do these 30-minute commercials. Ron Popeil is another guy. He would sell the Showtime rotisserie for chicken. And he's the guy that sold the spray hair. So if you had a bald spot, you would spray it and hair would miraculously occur. The Pocket Fisherman. I love, for whatever reason, I was fascinated with infomercials because they were shows and they sold and they demonstrated, demonstrables are a big thing. And still to this day, I'll sit and watch 30-minute infomercials for products I already own. The other day I was watching a pressure cooker for 30 minutes. I have it right here in the corner of my office. And I still watch the show because it's just fascinating how great these guys are at entertaining, informing, and showing what to use. So that's kind of where I got my start. But if you go on Facebook, I mean, you can tell in a second or two any of these video ads that you see whether or not they're going to be good shows. Vlogs are the same way. Casey Neistat is a world famous vlogger, and he treated each one of his vlogs like it was a cinematic experience. I mean, he spent hours and he had drone footage and he would set up shots with multi-cameras for a vlog on YouTube, and he changed the face of the whole format. So anybody who's willing to go that extra mile, whether it's creatively, cinematically, with a script, anyone who's different enough and really puts in the effort to say, hey, I'm doing this, but I'm doing it better or differently than anyone else. That's what tickles my broca, and that's what really gets my attention.
Okay, so you're saying it's like it's having an angle, just looking at things maybe from a slightly different angle and seeing what you can find that somebody else hasn't done.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly right. Like selling nothing. Years ago, I had a woman who called in my radio show, and her name was Fran Baskerville, and she was a psychic. But she wasn't just any psychic, because there's 1,000 psychics on the radio. She was the singing psychic. So she would write impromptu songs with a guitar, and she would sing you your fortune. And it was the same song. It was the same tune every time. None of the words rhymed. But she made a fortune, and she was on every radio station in America after a while because everybody had to hear Fran Baskerville, the singing psychic. It was that little angle, that little twist that made her exciting. So what is your angle? What is your twist? I said there's a lot of people that do what I do that teach people video marketing, but nobody's teaching people how to create a show. So figure out what you do and figure out the difference. What is it that's gonna connect with your audience? And I think that's gonna make once you get it, it's gonna make a world of difference instantly.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I think my husband is sitting in the other room right now listening and thinking,
oh, hi.
Thinking Vicky could do that because she makes up stupid songs about pie and things. So
the pie song, I love it. I would love to hear the pie song.
It had one word. It wasn't very exciting. Pie. Anyway, but yeah, that's really good advice, and I love that because it just ties really well into the how to be more interesting thing. It's just like just find that one little thing that kind of just makes people pay attention, tickles the broker, which I love that phrase.
Really I know, isn't that great? I stole that from my boss. I can't take credit for it.
Oh, great. So I might steal it from you, but I will. Also.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we'll just pass it around. Eventually it'll get back to him.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I've always been consistent with putting content out, but I've been a bit all over the place. How do you suggest that people focus? Because a lot of people, there's bright, shiny objects all over the place, and
yeah.
What's your advice with that?
It is a real problem, and it's and it's so fun. It's so dumb to say, but when you have a choice, you're either a consumer or a creator, and you can't be both at the same time. So I consumed all sorts of things for about a year. I listened to podcasts all the time, and I read books just like everybody else. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do all these wonderful things. I'm going to do this, and that. But then I wasn't creating anything. And so you can't do anything until you flip the side and become the creator. Luckily for me with Snapchat, when I downloaded it the first time, I didn't really download it because I wanted to consume content from other people. I didn't know anyone on the platform, and I wasn't really, excited about it. I downloaded it because I read an article that there were guys making a lot of money and reaching a big audience, and I was in radio, and I figured, hey, I have a little bit of experience talking to people in 10-second increments and trying to make it interesting. So from the get-go with Snapchat, I never really consumed it. I created it, and that was really something that was beneficial to me. Now, I didn't jump into it and become famous automatically. I was really horrible at it. I would take pictures pictures of myself and try to draw faces. And, I suck at art. I'm like the worst artist ever. I tried to draw a dog and it looked like the Abominable Snowman. It was horrible. But when I released that and I said, okay, look, I am not an artist. What am I good at? And I said, all right, I'm a talk show host. I should probably just do that on Snapchat. And that's when it really clicked. And I started writing to all the big Snapchat stars, all the big Vine stars, because Vine was still a big thing back then, some YouTubers who were very popular. And I said, hey, I want to interview you for my Snapchat talk show. And that was the hook. That was the broke-a-tickler. All these people were on Snapchat drawing pictures. None of them had ever been on a Snapchat talk show. And yeah, they wanted to be the first on the Snapchat. Of course they did. And so that's how I kind of built my audience, by interviewing people who were much more famous than I was, who had much bigger audiences than I did, and by utilizing my talents. And when you stop looking at these apps and these things, a lot of people say, oh, I want to do a podcast or I want to do a YouTube video, and they'll try to change what they do to match the app or to match the format. Instagram is a great example. Don't do that. Change the app to suit you, not the other way around. All of these things, it's just a different stage for you to perform on. If you're a concert pianist and you download Instagram, you're not going to automatically think you're a photographer and abandon the concert piano. You're going to just play the piano on Instagram, and that's what's going to make you popular.
Okay, that's really good advice. Thank you for that. Are you still doing your Snapchat thing? I know nothing about Snapchat, so I'm really intrigued by this.
Well, Snapchat's really interesting because what happened was, it was a big thing for a while, and it was so new that everybody wanted to know about it. And so that's when I found a lot of sponsors to do Snapchat stories with. Then I found a lot of people, as I said before, that wanted me to come and speak to them. So I became almost, one of the, most pronounced Snapchat speakers all over the world. I spoke to a group of politicians in Las Vegas about Snapchat, and I basically told them, "You're politicians. You should not be on Snapchat." But that was the next big thing. Now Instagram has kind of come in and basically stolen the entire platform from Snapchat. They've done it a little bit better, and they have a much bigger audience. So Snapchat, is reformatting their whole thing. They've never been able to find that foothold that I think is going to give them permanence. So no, I've pulled back from Snapchat because I've found that my audience has also pulled back from Snapchat. And that's another thing people don't realize. You have to continue to move and to grow. My wife is a great example. She's a mommy blogger, and we just got these in the mail. She has this new thing. Look at how cute is that? But she said that a lot of her blogging friends, they don't even blog anymore. She goes to read these blog posts, and they haven't blogged since July of last year because they're all just on Instagram now. The audience has shifted. So if you're a content creator, if you're a showman or a showwoman or a show person, that's who you are. And you can always do it on a different platform. Just make sure you're following your audience and make sure your audience is following you too.
That's cool. So how do you feel about repurposing leading on from that? Because I can give you an example what I do. My beautiful assistant publishes my daily emails onto my blog, but then she kind of chucks them around all over the place. How do you feel about repurposing? Do you think that's a good idea, a bad idea? How should people do it?
Oh, but it's the best idea. If you could get 14 pieces of content and just do the work one time, that's phenomenal. That's a great idea. And if you take a daily email, which number one, everybody should be doing, I'm totally convinced.
I know, right?
And then it's the best. It's the only way in this day and age to really get a foothold and to build a massive audience. If you take a daily email, I do the same thing. I do a Facebook post, or if you put it on a blog, or if you do both, that's phenomenal. If you take it and you read it as a short podcast, or there's an app called Anchor, which is just an audio app. You can pull clips of it and tweet them. If you have written content, there's so much you can do with it. So absolutely, you should repurpose YouTube videos. And we just talked about this in the 1000 Shows VIP group the other day, because a woman said, "Look, I do a podcast. It's 60 minutes long. Do I do a 60-minute YouTube video? Is anyone going to watch that?" And I go, probably not. But make 6 10-minute videos out of it. Make 60 1-minute Instagram videos out of it. Put some of it here and there. There's so many different ways that you can utilize your content. I've recently gotten into poker. In fact, I'm going to let you know now. My wife doesn't even know this. I'm trying to create a poker show just as an excuse for me to get away and play poker. So I've been watching.
That's a good idea.
I've been watching poker shows on TV, and I realize what happens is they take a 3-hour poker tournament and they turn it into a whole season's worth of shows, because the shows are only 30 minutes, but the tournament's like 5 days long. So that you can do the same thing with your content. One piece can be a plethora of different little tidbits for your audience to enjoy on all kinds of platforms.
That is a completely awesome tip because, like I say, I tart myself around all over the place, but it hadn't occurred to me that I could split the content up of webinars and things like that, and just
absolutely,
take it into little bits. So I'm just kind of scribbling notes down here right now.
Oh yeah, scribble away.
But thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to just move on to the next one because I know I can hear the questions in my head already that are coming. Sure. What would you say to people who think they're in a boring industry or business? Like, oh, my industry is really boring. My favorite objection, my customers are different. They're too sophisticated. They won't like that kind of thing. What would you say to those?
Well, look, every industry is boring to somebody. Even the most, if you are, I know people who are chiropractors and they can sit around and talk about chiropractic stuff all day long. And I know people who are lawyers and they can talk about mergers and acquisitions till the cows come home. I love football. My son and I talk about football. My daughter just rolls her eyes and goes away because she can't stand it. So everything is boring to someone and everything is fascinating to someone else. If your audience is bored by your content, you either have the wrong content or the wrong audience. So make sure you know what your audience wants. If you're giving because the show isn't about you, it's about them. The show is created by and for the audience. If they're not watching, there's no show. And that's why they are the most important person. And that's why you need to focus in on them and their needs and what they like. Sophisticated people, last time I checked, sophisticated people consume content. How many high-end magazines are there that show you ads for Burberry and Louis Vuitton? I mean, those are sophisticated clients. They're reading those ads somewhere. There are YouTube channels and Facebook pages for sophisticated people. LinkedIn is another. If your clients are too sophisticated for a YouTube channel or Instagram, go to LinkedIn. They have video now. And that is a budding platform where people who, fancy themselves to be more sophisticated hang out. So, everybody wants to be entertained. Everybody wants to be informed. It's just making sure that you know who it is you're targeting and then creating content that is targeted for them. So those are, like I said, you hear those excuses a lot, but they're easily, those are easily remedied, both of them. And it usually looks at, focusing on what you're actually doing and if it's a match for who you're doing it for.
Cool. Thank you for that. Everybody listening up, I hope.
No, Vicky, but my audience really is different.
I know, right? And then I'm face palming. It's like, no. Yeah. So LinkedIn video is going to be quite exciting. What do you know about that? Because I know that you had the inside scoop on it. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to ask you to give away any secrets that you're giving away in the group, which I will ask you to tell people about in a bit. But what do you know that you can talk about LinkedIn video?
Well, I've just really, I just kind of dove into it myself. It came out a couple months ago, in November, I think is when they released it kind of to the masses. And a good friend of mine, a guy named Sean Ayala, he's another Snapchatter. He's very savvy. He does a lot of speaking. And I had him in the group. We were doing a storytelling bonus feature, which we do from time to time. And he has a new Snapchat show called This Week in Snap. And it's a news show. And he mentioned that he's been putting it exclusively for now in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, again, video is new. And whenever a platform introduces something new, they give it attention and they will promote it for you. So if you're in a platform that has a new feature and you're in there first, you're going to see a benefit, which is why I immediately zeroed in on LinkedIn video as something to pay attention to. He told me, while we were talking, he's like, I already have clients from my first couple of episodes, paying clients who want me to consult them and who want me to come speak to them. So again, LinkedIn is super professional. And if you are looking for a way to get in front of people who have money, are looking for coaching, are looking for speakers. Again, I'm not really 100% sure who's watching this, but if you are somebody who has a service and you're trying to sell it, either B2B or, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, LinkedIn is where people go expecting professional services rendered. And if you have a show on LinkedIn, they're going to immediately recognize you as one of the go-to experts, and they're going to go to you for your expertise.
Okay, and I'm going to get you to do a shameless plug now, because I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to the LinkedIn stuff that's coming up in 1,000 shows. When's that going to happen? Oh, the LinkedIn bonus? As soon as I figure out more stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do, I've started uploading videos myself there. I got sidetracked today because locally we have our football team is doing very well. And there's a chance that they could actually go to the Super Bowl. So that's kind of eaten up all of our time here locally this week. I just did a video that went ridiculously viral. I had no idea it was going to be so successful. So I've been basically answering comments and taking email requests. But next week,
week we have a great bonus program with a guy named Yahya Bakar, who's a public speaker, entertainer, very funny guy. He just did a live what do you call like a live brain? What do you call it? Not a brainstorm, but it's the gin. It's getting to my head. Like when you have a powwow, like a live event with people.
Mastermind,
thank you. Yeah. And he did a live mastermind in LA, which is wrapping up today. And it looked like it was phenomenal. So we're going to have him on to talk a little bit about presentation and that kind of thing. And then I have a YouTube expert the next week. So hopefully early February, I'm shooting for the bonus feature on LinkedIn because I want to make sure I fully understand it. I have some stats and some experience. And if I don't, and if it, I can zero in on another expert to bring on so that we can really talk about it.
Excellent. That's going to be really exciting. And I will definitely let my guys know when that's happening because your stuff is really cool. So,
nice.
It's just true. I had a question and it's gone because I had a brief internet fail a moment ago, but I think it's come back again. I was gonna ask you about how long it's taken you to get to where you are now, because I know that you've been in radio a long time. So I was wondering how long it's taken you to get to where you are now and how your business has changed over the years.
Well, I've been in radio really for, like 22 years total. Back before the internet and back before social media took over, radio, it was radio. You went in, you did a show, you built up your audience, and then, you would move around from town to town. And I worked in Washington, D.C. for a while and up in New York and New Jersey. Now I'm here in Florida. I've dabbled more and more into talk radio, but I've been very fortunate that I found something that I'm naturally good at. So it doesn't really stress me out or take a lot of my time and effort. I've been able to build a really, impressive audience here in Jacksonville, Florida. And as I do more and more talk radio nationally, I just started a second show on one of our other radio stations. So now I have 2 morning radio shows. And before noon, I'm basically broadcasting to the city for at least 6 straight hours. And then after that, I get to do all this other fun stuff that really is kind of like a hobby for me, but that I've also been able to figure out how to monetize, which is the best thing you can do. So if you have natural talents, if you have hobbies, anything like that, you can, I don't know how long it's going to take you. I kind of just kept stumbling along, trying new things until I ended up where I am today. But a lot of people are doing it a lot faster because of the internet, and they're zeroing in and they're focusing in a lot quicker. So if you have a natural talent or love or desire, whether it's internet marketing, whether it's cooking in a crock pot, whether it's poker, whether it's dog grooming, we have a couple people in the group. We have one guy, one of the very first members. He's a balloon artist, and he wanted to do a show not for people, not for clients saying, "Oh, come to my wedding," but for other balloon artists in the industry, because he said that's a big, that's big money. These people, just like everyone else, they have trade shows and they have exhibitors and they have speakers, and he wanted to become the go-to expert for other balloon artists. So he joined the program back in October. And, and we had another guy, his job is teaching people how to open a hot dog stand, because he opened a hot dog stand. He wrote a book about opening a hot dog stand. He sold like $30,000 worth of the books. And now he just goes around teaching other people how it's done, and people pay him for that advice. So whatever your passion is and whatever naturally, you're good at, it could take you 10 years. It could take you 10 months. It all depends on how finding that right niche, finding the right audience, finding your flow, being consistent with it, as you said before, and just, and never losing the passion.
I love that you mentioned the book thing, because I'm always telling my clients to write books, especially if they're in an industry where nobody's written a book. I say, write the book on it. Write the book. Why would you not do that? People are always going to buy it.
Yeah, people are always, the thing with books is people are like, they write books wanting people to read them. And I always tell people, that's the wrong reason to write a book. You don't want people to write, like you said, you don't want people to read your book. You want to be able to say, I wrote this book, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So what's next for you? What's your next big adventure?
Well, right now I have, let's see, I just checked this morning. I think we're at 282 shows out of 1,000 shows. So I've got to stick with it. I've still got, let me do the math quickly here, 780 18 shows that I've got to help people produce. So that's what I'm working on this year. And I'm going to get there. And like I said, it's gotten a lot faster than even I thought it would. And every day, I get new messages from people. I want a show, and people are claiming their shows. And you're in the group. Every day we're welcoming new members, and you can see just the influx of individuals, all with this passion. So there's that 700 more shows to go. I do have a couple of other things. I've noticed a lot of speakers and again, because I do a lot of speaking, I travel a lot. And one of the big issues that I have with people coming to me is they say, I love to speak, but I can't seem to find enough speaking gigs to support myself, and I can't travel as much as I used to. And I'm the same way. I love to travel and go to speak to audiences, but I have a job. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I coach flag football. So I don't have all this available time to spend on the road like professional speakers do. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to dive into. I'm looking to figure out, as my next show or my next project, helping speakers do basically what we're doing right now and create speaking careers from home. And that way you can use your talents as a speaker, your knowledge as a speaker, but instead of having to go to the audience, bringing the audience to you, cutting down on your travel time and making more money. That's I think something that I'm going to start working on later in the year too. Oh, and then of course, now that you reminded me, I have to write a book.
Yeah,
so I'll throw that in somewhere. Yeah.
I can't believe you haven't written a book already. I'm shocked, Mark. Shocked.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna, as soon as we're done, Vicky, I'm gonna sit down and buckle down and do it.
You've got to get on that. It's going to be cool. It's one of my big things. Is like write a book, do my course, write a book.
Yeah, just do it. Don't think about it.
Yeah. So I'm this. I was trying to end on a useful note for people to take something they can do straight away after listening to the podcast. So if you could only tell people one thing about, standing out and starting a show, what would that important thing be?
Oh, the one thing about standing out and starting, I would say consistency is key. And again, I want people to, every time you say something and that sounds really cheesy and boring, but consistency, here's something new. Consistency does not mean daily. Let me just give you that. This is something that I'm going to leave you with. Consistent does not mean daily. And a lot of people freak out when you say do it consistently. They think every day. That's not true. Once a week, as long as you do it once a week, is consistent. Once every 2 weeks, once a month even. Whatever you're doing, figure out the best schedule for you and the best schedule for your audience and make sure that you can commit to it, because consistency is the only way to get going. You can be somewhere once a week for an hour. And if you're there consistently, you will build an audience. If you're kind of, all sporadic and all over the place, and 3 months you're there every week, but then you go away for 6 months, it's not going to happen. Some people like to do it daily. Some people like to post hourly or twice daily. Whatever you're comfortable with, do it, but just make sure that you do it consistently on a time frame that you're comfortable with, because that's the key to success.
It's great advice. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And finally, where can people find out more about what you do and sign up to your very entertaining and useful emails?
Oh, well, I appreciate that. It's wait, hold on. I think, let me see. I think I can do something. No, I can't do something fancy. It's 1,000 shows, 1000 shows.com. And if you go there, the first thing you're going to see is a picture of me in front of this very wall, as a matter of fact. And there's a free video. So you don't even have to buy anything. You just watch the free video. It's a 23-minute video. And I go through the process that every media company, whether it's a TV station or a radio station or a consumer newspaper or magazine, I go through all of the steps that they use. There's only 3 of them to create a financial income from a show. And you can watch that video. And if that interests you, then there's more information on how you can join the program, which is, it's a 12-module video program. And then there's this fantastic VIP coaching group. Again, Vicky's in there, I'm in there. And we meet every Monday live, just like this. And I answer questions and we share each other's projects and we comment and we just have a blast.
And it's super cool. And guys, if you're listening, it's like $100, which is a steal. And over here, that's like, 70 quid at the moment. It's very inexpensive. So,
see, there you go. 70 quid. That's nothing.
I know, right? So I can't recommend it enough. And even if you don't pay that much attention to video calls, which you should because it's great, you've got the group, which is just so valuable. And you can ask Mark anything, and he will answer you. And he's always present. You're always present in the group, aren't you? Oh,
I do my best. And if I'm not, we're to the point now. Like some groups are small, and you don't really get a lot of interaction. Some groups are huge, and you get too much. We're right in the sweet spot, and we have even if I'm not there, there's 10 other people with great advice. So by the time I get around to answering a question, it's already been answered. And it's like you said, it's a professional group of high quality people. And I just love it in there.
It is. It's amazing because normally you always find one annoying person in a group. I haven't found that person in your group yet. It's
Well, you know what they say, Vicky, if you can't find the annoying person in the group, it's probably you.
It's probably me, yeah. Cool. That's really cool. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business for Superheroes show. It's been really great talking to you.
Oh my God. Thank you for the best gin in the world. This is
you are so welcome.
I'm going to drink the rest of it tonight.
Well, you know what? I got attention somehow and that did the job. So as soon as I heard that you like gin, I was like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. It's been brilliant. I really appreciate it. I'm sure I'm going to ask you to come back at some point as well, probably maybe later next year when you know a little bit more about LinkedIn videos. Possibly would be a good thing to talk about.
Oh yeah.
As for everybody else, well, you've heard Mark talk about his group, 1000shows.com. It'll be in the show notes. The link will be in the show notes. For everything else, as usual, you can join my free book club, Bookaholics Anonymous, which is, we read, in case you didn't know about this, you probably don't know about this, Mark, we read a book every month because I'm fed up of having a massive pile of books that I don't read, and then I'm fed up of kind of just reading it and then doing nothing with it. So the idea is that we have a call and we each share our top 3 things that we've learned from the book, which is quite fun. And that's at vickyfraser.com/book club. If you like this podcast, please subscribe or share it. vickyfraser.com/podcast. Mark, thanks so much again. That's been super. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was what?
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.